your marriage is in chaos, your business will suffer. If you are overweight and feel like shit, your business will suffer.
Got questions, we bring the facts. From proven pros who walk the tracks. Business life, no smoke, just flames. Ask the experts, David Williams brings the game.
All right, good morning, Insurance Syndicate Group. It is that time. It is September 26th. It is 10:30 a.m. on the East Coast. I am over on the West Coast in LA today, coming at you early at 7:30 a.m., and we are excited for another episode live today. We have an absolute rock star on the call today, good friend of mine. I've had the pleasure to watch him on his journey, absolutely crush every aspect of life. His career is nothing short of remarkable since he started with Allstate back in 2007, developed his agency, earned multiple Inner Circle awards and a mega agency qualification until 2020, when him, along with his wife, took a bold move and launched Triumph boutique fitness studio experience. And then Justin missed coaching agents through his new venture. So Justin found himself back in a familiar turf with CWC, training and coaching so many different people across America, or so many different people across the country. And he is a father, he is a husband, he is a man of faith. He's absolutely crushing every aspect of life. He was even the founder of the Follow-Up Tool, a company that he built to serve insurance agents and then later exited that company. I would like to give a warm welcome to Mr. Justin Harkelroad. How are we doing this morning?
That was well done. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
No, thanks, brother.
Important.
No, excited to have you on. Excited to have you on. Say, let's dig in and get into the moon landing. No, I'm just kidding.
That didn't happen.
No, like, I think the place that I want to start with you is like, you've had so many different successes in life, right? You went from the insurance space, successful over there. You then, while you were an insurance agent, went into it with a partner, started your own software solution, were successful there with an exit, and then got out of the insurance business, got into the fitness business, was successful there, and now finding yourself back in the insurance business. And it's no doubt that success leaves clues because you're finding more success there. And I'd be curious, out of all the different facets that, you started, the different business models, I'm a firm believer that success leaves clues. What did you learn along the way that was the commonality across all those different business ventures that led to the level of excellence that you saw and the success that you saw across all those different ventures?
I think the mindset of being obsessed with seeing it through is probably the biggest thing that I adhere myself to. And if you talk to my wife, and I'm sure she'll come up a million times in this conversation, like when we go on to open the next thing, she reminds me of the situations we went through when we were launching the previous things that we don't want to repeat. So the clues are really reminders of things we should not do. So the next time we do it, it's a little bit better. And like, even as you say, like success in insurance, success. Some things, everyone thinks of success as financial. Like if I look at Triumph, the success for me were the lessons that I learned to go on to the next business. It wasn't a financial success at all for me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people assume, oh my God, he exited, he sold that company or something, he must be a billionaire. That's not how it works. But like, I think I'm a billionaire in the lessons and the stuff that I would not redo and the shifts that I can make on the next company. And that when I look back at those 4 years, 4.5 years, whatever it was, many lessons that weren't financial that I know if I were to either get back in the insurance game from an agency perspective or whatever the next company is going to be after Playbook's done, because everything changes. I'll be surgical with specific things that I learned during those 4 years.
No, and I absolutely love that too. And I think, a lot of people don't realize that, it's a lot of the challenges that are in businesses that are all part of the process, but that's like a part of the success formula. Like if you find yourself like stuck or you're sitting in a setback or you're in that lull that's in your business, like I think just shifting the perspective as opposed to having that, woe is me, that victim mentality, like so many people do. Like I'm a victim of my circumstance that I'm dealing with right now, but embracing that instead as part of the process that, hey, I know I have to go through this challenge, and that's what's going to lead me to be a better leader. It's going to be a better business owner, a more capable leader that's going to be able to do more. Because I'm sure if you look back all the way back in 2007 when you started your agency, And then fast forward to now, there's probably a whole hell of a lot more that you can carry on your shoulders. And there's probably a whole hell of a lot more you're capable of doing. And some of the problems that you saw back in 2007, if you were to look at them today, you would kind of laugh like, that's not even a problem. That's a blip that just goes off, rolls off of my back, rolls off of your shoulder. So there's something to be said about when you become, part of success, when you become that next best version of yourself, it just allows you to do more. And that's exactly what you're doing. And that's,
I think one point to be made is, we grow and we expand and my shoulders are broader and I'm stronger and I can take on more, but also I wouldn't do as much now as the next company comes because I would delegate, because that's ultimately the way that we scale, right?
Yep.
Like we take on all of these things are, I got to do it. I have to do it. No one else will do it as well, but giving people the opportunity to fail and learn from that. And all of a sudden their shoulders become broader. It makes us lighter, because the pressure that entrepreneurs, business owners put on ourselves, agency owners, is immense. And I think the coaching, the mentoring is part therapy, because you need people to listen and understand and that have gone through the same thing. Like I've been a part of Warrior for a long time, which is an entrepreneurship group, because I need men who are married, who have kids, who own businesses, to know this shit is hard sometimes.
Oh no, absolutely. 100%. And I think that's the importance of having a coach. I mean, you know that you're a coach for how many different agents across the country. But I think it's a lot of people don't realize it's good to have a coach in all important aspects of life. I got a coach when it comes to my faith. That's Tim's story that I can, connect with. I got a coach when it comes to my health and wellness. I got a coach when it comes to, therapists, because I think every entrepreneur in America, I mean, if even anybody needs a therapist to talk to too, because there's just some things you can't unwrap yourself. And then that person can help you unwrap and unwind that, at an accelerated rate. And then, financial coach and, those are the type of things that keep you all balanced. But too often I'll see people go fully 100 miles an hour down one lane and they forget about those other aspects of life. And then they become imbalanced and wondering why they're on that roller coaster ride in business. The second they get some momentum, they kind of lose that momentum because the other things around them fall apart, which intrinsically come back and impact that very thing that they were running down, 100 miles an hour singularly focused on.
I mean, you preach it. If your marriage is in chaos, your business will suffer. If you are overweight and feel like shit, your business will suffer. If you don't have the connection to God, in my opinion, your business will suffer. So if we continue, and because business is where our brains are, right? That's production and money, and we're going after those things because we have to scale and we need profit and all those things. But the moment that it starts to falter, we look only at that, but we don't look at the rest in the big picture and go, maybe this other stuff is affecting this, and that's what's going on. And once you realize that and you put effort towards that, all of a sudden the story of, I can't have a strong marriage and have a strong business right now. I got to focus. It's my season. There's all this BS excuse that we like to build up and throw out there.
Oh no, 100%. Now, you've both lived in the world for some time now, and you've both been, coaching other people that's living in the world. So there's, a lot of experience there. What would you say, when you see the things that are really getting in the way, the most common 1 to 2 things that stop people from getting everything they want out of life and more, stop people from, working on their business rather than in it and taking things to the next level? What are those typically 1 to 2 things you see get into everybody's way?
I mean, this is generalized, but the fear of what will happen and which creates the story in their brain of what will happen, and they really believe it and they can't change it and they're stuck. So if we talk about business and scaling and hiring employees or holding people accountable, I think the biggest thing that I have discovered in the 3 years I've been coaching and how the playbook started to evolve is someone will call me and say, I need help with accountability. I need to hold my people accountable, but they're unable to hold themselves accountable to their own shit. And I tell them all the time, they can see through when you walk in the door that you're not doing it for yourself. So why would they listen to you? And again, we want to throw around the token word leader and all those things, but that's what it is. Living example of what you want and desire for someone to do for you. It doesn't work if you don't live it. And people see through the lies.
Oh, no, 100%. And I think when you think about the word leadership, I look at it like this, is lead your ship. I think there's too many people there. What happens when the captain's no longer at the helm of the ship and then he's off doing something else, like whatever that might be. Eventually, if you stay away from that wheel too long, you're going to bump into or you're going to run into an iceberg, right? And I think too often what I see out there is you got, entrepreneurs that want to stay in their comfort zone. So you see them, I'm going to be my own best service employee. I'm going to be my own best customer service employee. And they're not doing that really at the end of the day out of need or necessity. They're doing that out of fear because that's the place that they're comfortable. But all these other things are foreign to them: leading people, coaching people, training people, hiring people. So, it's our tendency, it's human nature to stay in a zone of comfort, right? And stay away from the things that make us uncomfortable. But I think that's, something you've done really good at throughout your career, is just brace the uncomfortable, because that's really when you're in a place of growth. That's when you're in a place of learning. And then when you're in that place of growth and learning, all your team members underneath you, they're also in a place of growth and learning. And so is your business model.
I think we strive in chaos as business people. And when things start to get smooth, we either burn it down, freak out, and all of a sudden cause problems, or we go allocate that energy somewhere else to create more chaos. And chaos is usually looked at as a negative term. You ask Karina, she's like, you love it, you seek it, you want to look for it. And that's true, because if everything's calm, that's what happened towards the end of the agency level. I did a great job of delegating. I pat myself on the back for that. I was not needed at all. And if I went into the agency, I was more so screwing things up than applying any sort of benefit. Yeah. And I didn't think it through to go, maybe I just need to allocate my energy over here. I started to create chaos until the point where I said, all right, I got to get out of here, because I really need to focus on whatever this is going to be. And in reality, as we know, God's plan is God's plan. If I didn't sell the agency, I don't know what would happen with Triumph, because we opened in the middle of COVID. So we looked at what was shut down and immediately affected gyms and studios. 3 weeks into it, they were like, you can't be open. And then the race riots began, and we had to board up. And there was multiple things that happened that we just kept saying to each other, this is going to be an incredible novel someday that we're going to be able to write. And the chapters were shit show after shit show for a while.
No, but I still look at that as a success, right? Because you started up arguably in one of the toughest periods of time, where most businesses failed. So the fact that you kept the ship alive was clearly a testament to both of your leadership, leading your ship, leading the business. Because I can guarantee you, if you guys weren't in there putting the work, grinding, doing everything you needed to do, just like so many other businesses during COVID, you had been shut down before you even opened up. Yeah. So to me, that's a win. That's what success looks like to me. Not every win's going to be a $10, $20 million exit, right? But there's different levels of wins. And
absolutely agree.
No, love it. So, now, I know you talked about. Dave, oh, go ahead, Andy.
Sorry, man. I got a kind of a burning question. So, Justin, you caught my attention because you started to post out these kind of long posts, maybe, I don't know, 2, 4, 6 weeks ago, something like that. I would read every single one. And then I looked at the engagement, and there was a very high level of engagement. And you see a lot of people doing very quick narratives. They're doing very quick content. But as you transition through different spaces, right, I see a very clear intention behind the way that you're sort of writing your story out there and making yourself available to others. And without giving all your secret sauce, maybe give it all, I'd love to understand, is that just who you are as a person, sort of being able to wear your heart on your sleeve that way? Or is there some intentionality behind how you brand yourself as you go out there and look to stick yourself back into a space? Can you just walk through the thought process, or was it just a reaction? I'm just very curious what the drive was.
Yeah, so I'm the biggest introvert you've ever seen in your life. So I can go on all these stages and all these things and flip a switch and create this persona, which is what we call it in the fitness game. When you get on stage and you teach a class, I hate being on stage. But if I can go and teach a class and flip a switch, all of a sudden I can create an experience, and that's what I want to do. When I look at the posts and what you're talking about, I was fearful when I started thinking about the standard of putting God first in this entire thing. And I kept, as I would go through my prayer stacks, and it's a process that we do every single morning, I kept saying and even in the first Playbook draft, I wrote, okay, let's talk about the taboo topic of being or religion or Jesus or God. And I called it taboo. I called it out in the first place because I wanted to protect myself against people who go, I don't want to talk about that. That's not business. And then I went to Warrior in August, and I completely heard the fact that I need to redo the entire playbook and draft. So to your point, that's when it happened. I said, okay, fine. I'm going to now post and talk about it openly and see what happens. And I redid the draft, redid the playbook. It's all being reprinted now, with being a massive part, 25% of that entire book. And the people who want to engage in that with me will engage. And like, I'm getting calls now from agents going, I'm calling you because of that post that you talked about. Like, I've never heard someone speak about God in a way that you're speaking about it and applying it to the business side of things, which gives me certainty that, oh yeah, I listened, and this is all I have to do. All I have to do is listen. And all my prayer stacks that I put in the morning, I put in one of the spaces, thank you for being my business partner. So like, I have the certainty of going into this whole thing with saying, I have God as my business partner, building it from the ground up. And every time I simply agree on something that maybe I don't feel comfortable with, it works, which is crazy, right? Like it's I'm like, all right, fine. And now I'm just trusting and submitting and doing the next thing and continue to try that and seeking lessons. So one of those posts said, something about the Bible. I don't remember what the title of it was, but like, I always push, and I'm sure you guys do the same. People say, what's a good business book? I'm like, oh, here's Grant Cardone's book. Here's this person's book. Here's this person's book. I'm getting more lessons out of stacking the Bible and like looking for specific lessons. It's crazy.
And that's kind of like, honestly, every greatest business book, if you look at it, like they're based off of biblical principles. And if you want to fact check like a good business book, if it's got a good model to it, look up that business book, and is all the values and the teachings that are in there, are those in alignment with the Bible? And you'll typically see that if the answer is yes across the board, it's usually a best-selling, it's a best-selling book, and that should tell you a little bit of something about something. Right. But I mean, that's what I want to dive into next with you is, starting to talk a lot about faith here. How important is faith to you in the overall journey, like, both in business and in life, and how has it played such a pivotal role for you in your journey specifically?
So I grew up in Lutheran church, grew up in grade school, went to high school Lutheran, graduated high school, and then at our church or whatever, they would give you these envelopes with like your number on them. And that was, I didn't know what it was, but I was like, oh, I'm a member, I get this thing. But then I didn't use the envelopes when I would go to church. I would it was for offering. They passed this plate around. If you've been to old school church, that's how it goes. What I didn't realize was they track your giving with the little number. So when I was 18 and a half, I got a letter being excommunicated from my church because I was not giving the tithing that was expected of my, blah, blah, blah. I was broke as shit, by the way. So like, giving $1 was good. So that soured me hardcore for a long time. And like when I went to find a church to get married in with Karina, I almost fought the pastor because he would challenge, like I got red. She put her hand on my shoulder and said, we're leaving, because he was just pressing back against the expected behaviors and how I was behaving, I guess you would say. So I was frustrated. Fast forward to now, or last year. So July 30th of 23, I started prayer stacking every morning. And I was in the midst of chaos at Triumph. This was before selling it. Obviously, we were making the decision to sell it. Chaos because I was putting so much attention to my employees and not focusing on my family that it was pulling us apart at the seams. And like I've shared before with people, 2023 was the worst year of my life. Not even close. And people would say, oh, I didn't even know that. It's because I'm not here. My Facebook is not my fucking diary. Sorry. I'm trying to cuss. My bad.
Good,
all right. It's not my diary. So no one needs to know that. Right. But that was the reality. And in July 30th of 23, so that date is important to me, I have not missed a prayer stack since that day, which it's a full 20 to 25 minute conversation. And I look forward to it because it is a conversation. And as we talk about the stereotype, I guess, of religion, it's not a problem to me anymore because I don't care about what box I fit in. All I know that is I got to have a conversation with God and I have the power to do so, then that's what matters to me. And someone said one time, like they described the Bible as itself. It's people like you and I having conversations with God, writing down what we took away, and it ended up in this book. And then obviously it's been transcribed a million times, but it's people just like us. So when we write in our stacks or we write in our journal and we have these takeaways, and we have these discoveries, and we have these revelations from whatever the problem is we're having in the lesson, we extract it and we write it down. It's the same thing that was happening however many years ago that thing started to exist. So why downplay our conversations to say, well, Moses said it like this, so this is more important, or whoever. My conversations are just as valid, just as important to me. You don't have to care. I'm not here to convince you. I'm just here to share with the possibility of what could happen. And even now, since those posts and since we've had these conversations so much with other people, they're like, I'm not really believing God. You don't have to. Like, all I'm challenging you to do is maybe look at it and see what happens, and you can do the rest, right? Like, just give it a shot.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we're part of the problem. Like, everything I'm hearing here is like everybody is too concerned about everybody. Like everybody, like, I want to be liked by everybody. I'm worried about what everybody's going to think, and it prevents people from being their true, authentic self. Like, I'm in the same boat with you. I started to go out there, and I was always a little bit vocal, but I was like, what? I'm going to get a lot more vocal on it because maybe somebody hears my message, somebody hears my words. If I can touch one heart, one mind, it's all worth it in the world. And just started going out there, being my true, authentic self. Talking about, hey, what faith means to me and why it's so important in my life. And what happened out of that is nothing. It was nothing but good. It just attracted more like similar frequency people into my tribe. And then those like similar frequency people, then I started to notice one by one, maybe got the courage to post something that they didn't post before. And it created this profound ripple effect there. And I think it's very empowering when you realize that, hey, you don't need to have everybody like you in life. As a matter of fact, like, even the ice cream man doesn't have everybody like him. There's people out there that are lactose intolerant, right? So if everybody doesn't like the ice cream man, like, there's nobody on the planet that's going to be like, even Jesus Christ that walked the earth, he had haters in groves. And I think when you understand that, that's going to be part of the process. You're not going to be like the same frequency with everybody, but I think that's okay, because what I noticed in the process, and you've probably seen the same thing, is when we started to go out there and put out our true, authentic self. Well, what did it do? The people that were the opposite frequency of ours, that maybe we didn't want to be with, that were actually draining energy out of our bucket, they kind of drifted away. Those are the ones you saw unfriend you. Those are the ones you saw kind of go radio silence. But that was okay for them to go radio silence, right? You almost did yourself a favor in that moment. But then the people that were really your tribe, that you knew either at a surface level or deep down, not at a surface level because they were afraid to go out there, all of a sudden started to come to you magnetically. And what I noticed was, hey, more great friendships along the same frequency, more of my best customers seeking me out to do business with me. And it just, created this different dynamic where people appreciated it more than unappreciated, just going out there being your authentic self.
Yeah. I mean, getting people around you that fill your cup from a substance perspective, I think, is the thing we're all trying to figure out. And we all assume that we have to talk to people because we're in the same industry and all of these things. But in reality, if they're not fitting what we need to have in our lives, most people are fearful to cut them out. But if you live a certain way, like you just said, they eventually go, I'm not going to be over here. I'm going to go over this direction because that dude's weird. Cool. I want to be weird. Like, I was just at Mega for the conference, and like I was standing around a table. We talked about this dude's marriage. And then the other guy started talking about the things that he struggles with. And I said to them out loud, I'm like, this is the type of shit that we should talk about because you guys aren't talking about it, period.
Oh, 100%.
Like, dial this in, then the stuff that we're learning at the conference can be applied. But you're standing right here, and this guy brought it up. You're standing right here bringing up this situation that's on your brain, so you can't even focus inside that room right now because of whatever is happening with you. And that's been the cool thing to see happen.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I've seen that, like, from some of the biggest mentors out there. As I'm going out there seeking mentors, what shifted my perspective is like, hey, I'm seeing these like very high level people that are seeking from, stages I'm mentoring with. They got therapists, they got coaches, they got mentors. So I'm looking at these people that are just dialed in, right? Because I think everybody's looking for, the Instagram life. How do they look on the surface? But don't realize that, hey, there's a lot of heavy lifting. There's a lot of building behind the scenes. And some of that's through the power of partnerships, coaches, mentors, that takes them to obviously give them that optics when it comes to social media. But it didn't happen overnight. It's typically after about 10 years of hard work, putting in the work, putting in the discipline, putting in the dedication to be able to, put themselves out there like that.
Yeah. I think the thing that makes a good coach, mentor, or leader, whatever you want to say, is you just described the 10 years of growth, and we got to this point. The shitty leaders or the shitty coaches are the ones who forget what it was like at the year 2 and 3 and 4. And the people that come to them for guidance, They just talk about what's happening right now.
Or they skip year 2, 3, and 4 because they failed, and then they like thought that, hey, you know what, I'm going to become a coach and I'm going to go coach other people how to do, 7 figures, but I've never done 7 figures before. That's my biggest pet peeve. It's like, how can you be a coach? You don't understand the nuances, the trenches, like everything it took in that journey, in that process to get there. So like, that's a great point too, is like, you're going out there getting a coach, look under the cover of what the coach looks like. Justin here is the real deal. He's been in those trenches. He's built the businesses. He's put in the work. He's seen 7, 8 figure revenue businesses. Those are the type of people that can help you get to your destination. But if you got the guy that quit and failed out of business in 1 year and they're trying to teach you how to build a 7-figure business, well, they don't even know that themselves. They don't have the roadmap or the compass, and they've never gone on the journey. So how are they going to help you when they'll maybe help you during the easy times, regurgitate things that you already know. But when it comes to the tough times, how are they going to help you navigate those circumstances?
Right. And continue to push you. Like not just build your ego up and say, great job. Like you have the best month ever. That's cool. Now what? Because like that's the constant game of expansion is what we're all after. And if we don't have someone pushing us, which is why, like you said, you seek out mentors, I seek out mentors. I'm at the highest level of mentorship I've ever paid for in my life. And it's because I need to be around people that I couldn't even fathom being around. And now I am. I'm in rooms with people that have money that I don't even imagine about having. I can't even fathom, but it exists. But the cool part is we're all in this space together, 45 men, if you will, and they might have a jet, but they still feel unfulfilled. And they're there to talk about Christ, to figure out what is it that I'm missing? Because I thought when I had this private jet, everything would be fine. And it's not that stuff anymore.
And I think there's something to be said about when you get into that different room, right? It's showing up too. Because I think there's one, the first step is committing to get into the room. But then the second step is actually showing up in the room. Because I'll see people tell me that they're going to conferences, they're going to masterminds, going to events. And it's like they're just perpetually going there to hang out with other people, getting a dopamine hit. And then you're hanging out with the same old people that you connect with anyways all the different time. But I think the real learning there is going to those events and finding, hey, who is it that I can serve here? Who is it that I can collaborate with that maybe he's got opposite strengths and weaknesses that are on my, my level? And then who are those mentors that are literally light years ahead of you that can put you in that space of growth? And I think when people step in and really embrace it in that way, and they have great intention. So it's like, hey, I'm getting in the room because I was very intentional. I made sure, you know what? I want to get into this room and I don't care who they are, how low they are. They're on my level or they're like light years ahead of me. I want everybody in that room to remember me, and I want them to remember me for a good reason, being a servant, coming in there and helping, serving, supporting. So when they see me in that room, what do they want me in the next time? They want me in that same room. And now I've been blessed where a lot of those rooms that I used to pay to go into, now I get invited to go into and I get to attend them free of charge because now I'm part of the circle. And I think that's the real key to it is just, showing up and something to be said about showing up.
Yeah. And I think we, as the people who are now being invited back, like we have a responsibility to facilitate those conversations that you're saying people aren't having, because most people are uncomfortable in even doing it. So they come in and they're intimidated. They see these big agents or these big business people and they don't say anything to them because why would they talk to me? Or they see people sitting next to them. They don't need to speak to each other. Like I went and spoke in Vegas. I don't know. Yeah, you were there. I don't know if you saw me speak, but like I made people stand up out of their desk and go meet a stranger and talk for 2 minutes. And they were like, shit, I got to talk to another human being. Like it was an uncomfortable situation, but like they had to do it 3 times. And like by the 3rd time, they were more comfortable, and which got them to interact more with each other. Because even that $1, $2, $3 million agent could have a nugget that could change your business. Or
100%. I think you can learn anything from anybody, right? And it's just always being intentional to go out and learn from that person.
Yeah, especially in the insurance game, we get to a level and like our eyesight is only like, oh, who's above us? But like there is so many things to learn from everybody if you just take a second to authentically, like you said, authentically listen and converse.
That's a key. Listen, right?
Yes, listen.
People just need to shut up. Like it's just like shut up, listen to what somebody else has to say, because they're too busy talking that they never actually walk away with any value from the conversation because they were running the show the whole time.
Yes. Or looking at their phone or looking around and not listening to the person. Like it is, you can see it happen at these things. And we got to be more intentional and take more responsibility to make sure we're bringing everybody up, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. And then one of the things that I love about you too is like how intentional you are. And it seems like you got a really dialed in discipline routine. And I'd be curious, from where you once were to where you are now, what does that like daily routine look like today compared to what it was, day one, opening up your agency that, leads to a framework of success?
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned Warrior. So I discovered Warrior in 2016. It created this core 4 process for me that happens in the morning. But in reality, the focus of the day is body, being, balance, and business, and making sure that you serve each of those areas every single day. The goal is to get it done by the morning time, but shit happens, and sometimes you don't get it done. But I, every single day, will either send my wife a video, leave her a note on the counter, send her a text to how much I love, honor, and appreciate her. That's my point. Like, it's just been going on for 8 years, or how many years it is. And now what happens is I get it now too without asking for it. At the beginning, she was like, "What the fuck are you doing, weirdo?" Like that. Yeah. Like I was sending it, and like we were taught and trained, don't ask for anything, just do the action and see what happens. And then doing the same thing with the kids, writing them a note inside their notebook is the target. That one I'm not as good at as I should be. Or getting a 45-minute workout in, getting my macros hit, like. Every day inside of those 4 areas for me, I know I have targets and goals to hit. Last year for business, I did a discovery and declare. So I would read a book for 20 minutes. I would go live on Instagram every single day. Day 1 of 365. By like day 32, I was like, this is stupid. I should have never committed to this. But here I am publicly doing it. And then I took a whole year off Instagram because I was so sick of social media. So now I'm not on it anymore. But I think the key is getting it on a micro level so you can take a bite, and like hitting a single every day. I was taught what happens on the 4th day, you score every single day, but everybody wants to start with a double, triple, or home run because they need to score quickly. But if you just focus on the single, then you're on first base. And then 4 days into it, all of a sudden you start to score, and then you see the benefits and what we call the fruit of the work. Like, we are known as business people by the fruit that we have, and the fruit being strong marriage, fruit being strong body, fruit being strong connection, fruit being strong business. But like, if any of those things are off, the fruit tells the truth, and you can't argue with it. No, my marriage is dope. Your wife just posted on Facebook, you're a dickhead. Well, I guess that's the fruit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't argue with that.
Or you're looking at the you're a little soft, right? So it's like, all those different things, eventually, signs are going to come out. And like, I'm on the same way of thinking, right? Because it's like, I don't think anything great, you can't get great progress or results overnight, right? It takes those incremental steps. So I'm like, my rule is the 1% rule. It's like, the most important areas of life, how do I get 1% better every day? Because now that's attainable. That's taking those small bites that you're doing. But if you do it every single day, the compounded effect of that, like over the course of the year, will change your life in almost every important category of life. And there's a good mentor of mine, Tim Story, like he tells this parable that I like to share with people all the time. It's like the farmer's mentality. And I think that farmer's mentality relates to life. It relates to relationships. It relates to business. But you think about what's the difference between a good farmer and a bad farmer, right? Well, first off, the good farmer's got to have a lot of faith. The good farmer, the great farmer's got to put in the work ethic, and they got to have a lot of consistency. And, what does that look like? They first got to maybe till their land, plant their seed, but then they're coming in and, fertilizing and watering that land every single day. But what don't they see every single day is there's nothing on the surface. Nothing is happening. So it takes a lot of faith to keep showing up every single day and doing the same thing and putting in the work and doing that, but without seeing the progress or the fruit, so to speak, of your efforts, right? And I think too many people will go down that, and we're in this world of instant gratification that all of a sudden, you know what? I don't feel like it today. So I'm not going to water my land, whether that's my relationship, whether that's my business. And you know what? I came in today. Everything looks about the same. Like there's still nothing above the surface. So I'll do that again tomorrow. And then tomorrow and the next day. And they could have been literally 3 weeks away from having the biggest crop, the biggest harvest of abundance they ever saw in their life. But that's the difference between, I think, the guy that just does the same old and gives up too early. And then the one that just goes the distance, goes the mile, and understands that, hey, with the right level of faith, the right level of consistency and showing up every single day, there is going to be a product. It might take, weeks, months, might even take years. But if you keep doing so, that's eventually going to yield that harvest like you never expected in your lifetime.
Yeah, I think the money is made in the boring work, and that's hard when you start to build a business. Like those long nights of figuring out the marketing and all of these things. But in reality, those are where the money's made, not the rest of it. And that's like to your point. That's why they don't last. They don't stay enough time in the boring work. They want to scale. They see Instagram, they see Facebook, they see social media, and they think I deserve that. There's the bigger problem. They don't deserve shit, but they deserve that.
And the country right now is everybody thinks they deserve everything, and like I believe you deserve nothing. The world doesn't owe you anything unless you earn it. And I think if we teach that more in school than anything, like that's what's going to get our country great again. Is like getting people back to work, getting people putting in the work to create the life that they want. And that's going to create a ripple effect that changes where we're at today.
Yeah, agree wholeheartedly.
I got a question for both you guys. One of the things that I've experienced and I've seen with other friends and colleagues is, there's moments where I think in your early career, you actually feed off of like survival mode, right? So you'll have a down moment, but then that'll fuel like innovation and like this reaction to be like, I'm going to die. Like I got to do something different. And then those are usually like the growth moments, right? Is those low moments that then propel you to do things differently. But I think there's a certain point in business where eventually you avoid the next valley and you're like, I expected something bad to happen, but like, oh wow, like we're actually headed in a new direction. But then like imposter syndrome and all these other things set in to where you're like, that's not normal. Because for years I've been on the roller coaster and I actually feed off of it. And I'm just curious for you guys, like if you've experienced that moment in your careers, and then also how you kind of like, I don't know, adjust your framework so that you don't maybe inadvertently sabotage yourself just to try to go back to what's normal and continue to like ride that wave with momentum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll go first, Dave. There was a call with my Savage group a few weeks ago, and there was a question posed, and not with a correct answer or not, but the question was, do you feel like pits are required to reach the next peak? And everyone had different answers. And I answered originally, yeah, like I feel like you're going to at least falter to then look up to the next thing. But sometimes, like to what you just said, you think you're going to fall and you don't. I think that just means you're still transcending to the next top. But in my opinion, there's going to be a reset at some point, and the elite ones figure out how to quickly reset so the pit doesn't become so deep this time, and then you just slowly start to transcend again. Someone used it as he doesn't believe in pits; he believes in just resistance of wind. So he's like, I'm always going up the mountain, but every single time I start to feel resistance, it's not a pit in my mind. I've reframed it to say this is just resistance. This is a stream of wind that's slowing me down at this point. And I just got some more time inside the storm until I just continue on. So long answer of that is, short answer of that is, yeah, I believe that pits are necessary. I think my goal is to shorten the length of time that I spend inside of them, to start to transcend to the next one. And I think now I can go to a prayer stack very quickly inside of a pit and say, this is where I'm at, which you already know, but can you please help me figure out what I need to do to get out of this thing? And sometimes, you know what he says? It ain't time yet. Like you're going to sit inside of this thing for a little bit because there's lessons for you to learn. 2023 was a big ass pit for me. And all the time that I'm inside of it, I'm going, what do you want me to do right now? Because this is not good. This is breaking me down. This is destroying me. But now I look back and go, oh, okay. Now my marriage is stronger than it's ever been because of that process.
No, absolutely. And I'd agree on that too. And, for me, it really was, I think that evolved over time, the way I looked at it. When I initially got into it, I was in the thick of things, in the fire of things, like life was unraveling. I was in a do or die position financially when I first started my insurance agency back. Everybody knows my Circuit City story, dealing with the health issues, dealing with everybody else. It was literally, it created this pressure chamber. It was like do or die. Like, am I going to be on this guy that's going to be on a couch living on disability? Is that really the life that I want? How's my wife going to look at me? How's my family going to, how am I going to support my family? How am I going to support myself? Or, can I do the hard stuff to outchase that, that almost existence? Because I don't want to be like an almost person. I want to be an utmost person. And I think the pressure of that initially, the fear and the pain was so much greater in that place than the place of uncomfortable. So it had me run like a maniac, like somebody was trying to take it away from me 24/7. And I think the continuing motivator is because that place was so painful, I never wanted to go back to it again, that I've always, in some capacity felt like that beast, that monster was chasing me, even though it might not have been 10 feet away. It felt like it was 10 feet away at times. It just kept me going because I never want to go back to that place again. And then I think time evolves, right? Then we learn how to do things differently, because when I was in the place earlier on in my career, I was working in the business rather than on it. And then I learned about a thing or two that led to, oh, wait, I could have my cake and eat it too, and have this life of financial freedom, have this life of freedom in general by doing things differently the way I run my business. And now once you possess that freedom, you want to protect and promote that even more, where that monster is still chasing you, but it's chasing you for a different reason, because you never want to lose that freedom that you built. And I think it's forever changing, forever evolving of what keeps you hungry and what you're chasing. But as you get wiser along the way, I think you get wiser along the way, you get more strategic, and life just continues to get better and better.
Agree. Well said.
All right. No, love it. Love it. So, what I want to dive into next is your playbook, right? So I think everybody in life needs a playbook. Everybody needs a coach, but what does every great team do is they run great plays every single day. And I think that's part of the problem that I've seen out there when businesses or people lack consistency. They might run a successful play here and there, but they don't learn from that and realize, hey, you know what? Every time I run that play in this particular situation, like, I win. And they don't get strategic, and they don't get wise, or they keep running those right plays in the right moments. So tell us a little bit about your playbook, the whole thought process beyond that. And then how does that allow people to, I guess, replicate success and run those right plays in the right moment when they need to?
Yeah. So the playbook exists because I've been coaching for 3 years, and I have not seen a good structure or agenda to repeat success. A lot of times I can get on phone calls and all of a sudden we're attacking the problem of the day instead of attacking the business itself and making sure that we're strategically scaling every single 90 days, if you will. So the playbook is a 90-day program where we focus on the teams, the production, the processes, the revenue, the marketing, all of those things inside of business, as well as I've alluded to, focusing on being, balance, and body in the same breath. So the small micro steps, we list out the things that could possibly be our point inside of body for the day, inside of being for the day, inside of balance for the day, inside of business for the day. And then we look at it on a macro level, a bigger level for business. What do my teams look like right now? What do I want my teams to look like in 90 days? What does my revenue look like now? What do I want it to look like in 90 days? And as we go through this, 123 pages, we're going to have something to look at back in 90 days and say, yes or no, black and white, did I achieve what I said I was going to go and do?
Yep.
And that's what I feel is missing from a lot of things. Like, the not having measurable, scalable targets is an epidemic in this game. We all say we want to get better at closing. I don't know what the fuck that means. I want to get better at my health. I don't know what that means. I want to have a better marriage. I don't know what that means. Like, we have to really ask the extra question of why we're doing that. People will say, I want to have a better connection with my wife. Cool. What does that mean? Oh, we're gonna connect. I don't know what that means. Like, we're still on this generalized
and they don't know
state.
what that means too. They're just regurgitating words, and they never sat down and asked themselves, hey, true clarity, what does this mean from you? And I think that's where, like, you got to get clear on the mission, because I mean, that's how you're going to get alignment with your assignment. If you actually know, hey, what is it I'm trying to get clear with, so I know exactly what to chase with laser focus.
And why is it important to me? Like,
Yep.
I always say, like, ask the why like a toddler, which I'm sure you're in the middle of. So why? Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Like, but every time that the child asks why, you have to come up with a deeper reasoning to your surface level response, because you realize I'm not appeasing what this person's asking for. And that's kind of what the playbook will do, which is it's not going to be allowable to create this generalized target and say, I'm going to make more money in the next 90 days. We got to put a fiscal number on there, and then we have to look back and figure out what are those monthly missions to make sure that we attack to achieve that more money. My biggest excitement is the structure that I've been gifted with from Warrior. I get to give back to the insurance marketplace and say, look, this is going to change your life if you choose to change it. And I think in the first introduction page, it says, like, you won't be recognizable in 12 months if you do the work. But if you don't, and it's just the next thing that you sit on your desktop and you show up to the Zooms and you don't do the work, then there's nothing we can do for you. Like, this is fully self-responsible type of shit. And people are scared to death of that part because everyone wants to go take a pill and think that's going to work. Like, you have to change the habits and behaviors to actually see the fruit.
No, and I think a lot of people don't realize too, it's not just doing it for themselves. Yeah, they got to do it for themselves, but it's also doing it to be more of an effective leader for your team, because we all know, like, people will do as you do before they do as you say. So if you're not growing, you're not getting better, you're not improving in these particular areas, like, how are you, successfully leading your team? You're failing your team at that point, because now they're not growing, they're not getting better, they're not learning some of these things. And one of the most powerful things I always saw in business, when I aligned like my people's goals with my goals, because at the end of the day, they don't give an F about like how many dials they make, how much money they make you, how many deals that they close, like all those things that matter so much to you, your bonus and everything else, do not matter to these people. So you got to figure out, just like you intrinsically, what matters most to you, but what matters most to them, like from a personal perspective. So we'd always do, hey, do a vision board. Where do you want to be in your personal life? Where do you want to be in your health? Where do you want to be in your relationship? Where do you want to be in business? And now once we know that, okay, great. Now we can start talking about the real stuff. Okay, what the most important thing, we found that you're living in an inner city apartment. It's too cramped. It's not safe for your family. And you need an extra $1,500 a month in income to change your family's life, to make your family's life safer and put them in the home that they deserve. So now that hits differently when that person's not showing up because, I played PS5 till 2 a.m, or I came in and I watched the football game till 3 a.m. and I just don't feel like it today. Well, can you look your kid in the eyes that's sitting on your computer monitor there on your vision board and tell them, hey, Johnny, Jimmy, you're going to have to stay in that unsafe neighborhood and community for another day, another week, another month, because dad doesn't feel like it because I wanted to play Call of Duty last night till 2 to 3 a.m. Like, how does it feel having that conversation with your kid? And then as a leader, being an effective leader, understanding that, like, that's our duty, is like pushing that envelope and getting them to connect with the things that matter most. And I'm a big believer, just like Zig Ziglar said, right? If you help enough other people reach their goals in life, you help enough other people get to their destination in life, you're really never going to have to worry about your own goals. You're never going to have to worry about your own destination, because if you guys are both in alignment, you're both going to reach that destination together, and really everybody wins at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing you said that people need to hear is your employees do not care as much as you do, nor will they ever, and nor should they. And like the consistent pushback is, why don't they care? Because they don't. And like, that's okay, because it's not their business, and you need to accept what is, and then develop processes and incentives and bonuses, like you said, for them to move in a direction that helps them.
And I know you're in alignment with this one. And here's about this. How about a perspective shift of asking yourself a different question? Why don't they care? How about going into the bathroom, looking in the mirror? Why didn't I get them to care today?
Right.
I think when you have that, like, you're the same cloth, the same belief system, where at extreme ownership, if you own everything and everything's always your fault, well, now you're always going to be in a place of solving those problems rather than just chalking it up to being the victim, chalking it up to, hey, it's something that I can't control. Because I think most things in life we can control in some way, shape, or form, whether it's indirectly or directly. But if we start asking ourselves that question, hey, why didn't I inspire them today? How could I lead them differently today? And everything's always your fault. Then you're going to do things differently each and every day until, boom, we struck gold. Now I'm leading people differently, because I'm leading them differently. They're getting different results, and it just changes the trajectory of business and life for the people that are around you.
Yeah. I don't know how people live in the world where they don't want to take ownership, because like you just said, if I take ownership, I have the control to fix it. But if I don't take ownership, it's not my problem, or I can't fix it. That sounds awful to me. I don't want to live in a space where I can't take some sort of action to fix whatever's bothering me. And if we live in that victim world, that's what happens. It wasn't my fault. I don't know what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden I am helpless. And then what? You just sit there inside of that crazy thought process. But that seems to be what a lot of people live in right now.
No, it does. It does. And I mean, sometimes it's like getting momentum in a matter of inches sometimes, and it might not feel like a big win, but it's like getting those base hits every single day. And then all of a sudden you're moving in inches before you know it. You're moving in feet, and then you're taking strides in yards, and then momentum. And I think that, there's something to be said about momentum, because I found anytime, even if it starts out very small in life, anytime I start to gain that momentum in that particular core area of life, like you get in the flow state, right? You know, it feels where everything comes easy, like wins start to come way easier. You start to feel magnetic, you know, whether it's the flow state and results of your business or the flow state in your health. If you're working out, you reach that vantage point where then all of a sudden the momentum of the compounded effect of showing up every single day starts almost to take on a centrifugal force of its own. And then that momentum continues. And now it's your just job and duty to kind of fine tweak it, tune it, and just stay consistent along the way.
Yeah. The key is starting. That's it.
Yep.
Like everyone thinks it's so hard to get to wherever so-and-so is. They started somewhere. But you thinking that you need to start is not starting.
And what would you say on that point? What do you think is the single most effective way when people are at that place? Because I think there's too many people in that place right now, and it's a different area of life everywhere, right? It's not starting being a leader in your business, not starting being a leader in your marriage, not starting getting your health back. What are the things that you've seen singularly most effective when it comes to just getting somebody to start and take that initial leap, putting the toe in the water where they can start to get some sort of momentum in that area of life?
I think the biggest issue is most people focus on the subtraction of something instead of the initiative of putting some new habit in place with whatever the bad habits are going on right now. Like, obviously I watch Karina and her nutrition coaching and listen to what she talks about all the time. And everyone thinks that they have to come in and all their calories are going to go all the way down. And like, she'll be like, let's just chill for a minute and just eat what you eat for 3 days. So let's see where you're at. And then let's implement some water. Let's implement some protein and then see what else happens. But the implementation of the new habit will eventually erode and eat out the old habit. Same thing inside of like balance. I can't tell you how many people I have gotten to do the notes. And then I get a text later going, this is crazy. Like I'm still doing the notes and my marriage is on fire because my wife doesn't even know what's going on right now. But like, she just feels loved. But like those small, he didn't change anything that he didn't take away something he was doing. He put a new thing in place and it's small and it's easy and it's thoughtful, but it's also thoughtless because you can just go, hey, thanks so much for doing the dishes yesterday. And that simple thank you that she normally did not get or receive goes a long way for her to go, oh my gosh, this is a different behavior. So now I'm going to shift how I respond to him or her. And it changes everything. It's just small things. Yeah.
No, I love that. Now, how about, because one of the most common excuses that I hear out there from people is like, you give them the blueprint, you give them the Justin Harkelroad playbook, right? And you give them the step-by-step and you give them the small things, but they're caught up in perspective that I just don't have time. There's not enough time in the day. And they're in that place where the business is running them. They're getting hit in the face with the fire hose every single day. And they just end the day soaking wet, staying on the same hamster wheel. What do you have to say to that person that doesn't have the time, that's wearing 7 different hats in their business? And when you look at that person, maybe they're still in the same standing place that they've been, same hamster wheel a year down the road. What's that, one thing that they could do to change the trajectory of where they are today?
I believe the first thing you got to do is tell them that you believe them when they say it, because like they truly believe they don't have the time. Like I just had a conversation with a guy, I don't know where it's from, but like his day is 18 hours long. As we talk more into it, that's bullshit. That's not 18 hours. Like that's how he feels though. And he said it multiple times inside the phone call over and over and over again. So eventually I'm like, all right, like when do you get there? And when do you leave? And then all of a sudden, like, let's do the math because that's not 18 hours. You just made that up. But like he truly believes internally that is the reality of what he's living inside of. I think it's just simply recognizing the chaos of where you are. And for him, for the exercise that I give everybody, write down what you do every single minute for an entire day for 2 days and see what actually shakes out. I got a text this morning from him. I need to hire a service person. Yes, you do. I knew that, but I needed you to discover that. Like, and when you discover that, all of a sudden,
that aha moment that's on their own.
Like now that you have it and you did it, I didn't tell you to do it. I just agree with you. Now, all of a sudden, when you have that person in place, you buy your time back. That's a book I think I just read. Buy something like that. It's a great book. It's so true.
I do the same thing. Like every single quarter, it's like, hey, you know what? On the left side of the page, column A, what are the things that I'm doing? Hey, what's my time worth? Am I making $1,000 an hour, whatever that may be? What are the things that are below $1,000 an hour pay grade that I'm doing that I shouldn't be doing? And then that's on column A on the left, stack rank from least value task to most valuable task. And then I also add into there, hey, what are the things I'm doing that I don't like to be doing? Because those are the ones that if you can afford to give to somebody else and you don't have a passion, you don't have a heart for it, you don't like for it, there's something to be said about resistance when it comes to those things, just living in your lane where you thrive the most. And then on the right side of the paper, putting everything that's in my pay grade that I should be doing. And what I realize there is every time I do that exercise every single quarter, that there's probably about 20% of my time that I could free up and allocate in other areas of life that are way more important. And then you look back at another quarter, if you did things right, then you do that exercise again, that you've grown in that process over 90 days, and you maybe free up another 10, 20% of your time, and it's ever evolving where you're changing the value of your time. You're buying it back through other highly capable people so you can just keep elevating yourself, and then ships rise with the tide, right? So like your team's going to rise with you as you're elevating your very own life.
I think that the last part's the key takeaway. You elevate other people and you elevate with them. Like that's all. That's the whole game. And people will look at business owners or entrepreneurs, because you hear this all the time about people talking about billionaires and taxes and all that. Like, those people are elevating so many other people in the process of what they're doing and what they're building. But people are just focused on the poor victims at the bottom. Why can't they have what that person has up there? Because they haven't done the work. But they can. The guy who just became, I don't know, the CEO or something along Nike. I saw an article about his LinkedIn profile. Started as an intern. He's been there for like 38 years. But if you told him 38 years ago that he'd be at the level he is now, he would have said, no, I'm only this intern guy. But every single step of his promotion, you can see it in his LinkedIn profile, which is super dope because nobody really usually stays at a business like that. And now he's running the whole damn ship.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure with the number of people that you've coached, but basically either from team members or other peers that you've coached, you've had to have like your favorite transformation story. And I'd be curious about, hey, what's your favorite transformation story of somebody that you coached that really put in the work, right? They were in this place, they were over here struggling, barely surviving. And then they actually put in the work. They followed the playbook. They did all the right things, and now they're in this totally different zone the way they're operating today. I'd be curious, like your favorite transformation story, because success leaves clues, and maybe other people on the call here could pick up on some of the things that they've done to get to that place.
I think this will speak to what fills my cup the most. And it's not about business. It's not about this guy's fitness. This gentleman, he probably watched this. I don't know if he's in this group or not. I'm gonna butcher how old he is, but I love you, Richard. I have no idea if I'm right, but I'm gonna assume he's 65 to 70. And him and his wife own agencies in California. I worked with him, coached him back in 2021, and then California fell off the face of the earth, as you know, in the insurance game. Yep. So there was no reason to coach because there was nothing to sell. And I got a text a year and a half later out of nowhere that simply says, I want you to know I'm still doing these notes for Peggy. And it's incredible what it does for our marriage. And I'm not going to stop. And I can't wait to talk to you again. And we'll talk about it again. And then we end up connecting and kind of having a full conversation. That to me is the best thing in the world. And like, if you attach your coaching mentorship to the spouse or the children, I think you see through just the business conversation and you start to say, if I can affect you to then affect those kids, the game is totally different. And like the reminders on the coaching calls and the conversation is, how are the kids? Cool. Like, how are you for them? This is stressing me the fuck out. I know. But like, is that affecting this part? Because if it is, it's not serving you.
Absolutely.
You cannot have the stress come home and destroy the rest of it, which is what I did for a whole year. So like, I can adhere and apply that to myself 100%. I was there. I lived it. I know what it felt like. And now I want to make sure no one has to see their wife like I saw Karina's face when I went through shit. Or my kids scared because I'm frustrated and stressed out. Like, that's the pure victory to me.
No, I love that. And that's like planting seeds that turn into trees we might not sit under one day, but it's the ripple effect of doing that for other people that then go out there and do that for other people. So no, I'm the same belief. I love that.
And Richard, if you're here and you're 55, I apologize. No idea.
All right. So, I mean, as we wrap up here and before we get into, because I want to give you an opportunity to tell everybody how they can work with you. What are last final thoughts, man? If you had, one or two things you could leave with everybody that could leave the most lasting impact on anybody that's listening to this call, whether they're listening live or they're listening to the repeat, they're listening to the rerun, what would be those final thoughts from Justin Harkelroad, words of wisdom that you'd give everybody?
So I keep it simple. The biggest takeaway I ever had was during an event at Warrior Week, which was, it's like this Navy SEAL beat down 4-day thing. And we were in plank and we were getting sprayed with paintballs and ice cubes and all these things. And Coach went on this massive speech about how people don't do what they say they're going to do anymore. And we allow that behavior. And he took it all the way down to the most minuscule type of thing. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. And then what do? They call you back the next day because life got in the way. And when they call, we're all like, oh, it's okay. But why can you trust that person anymore when they told you a lie? Like that's what they didn't mean to, but that's what they are comfortable doing. And they had no intention of calling you back in 5 minutes. That's a way to get off the phone. So do what you say you're going to do. Like that's it. And that's what I want to live by. And if you don't, take ownership, like you said, on the front end and don't allow people to blow it off like it's not a big deal. If I don't call someone back when I say I'm going to, profusely apologize. And when they're like, it's not a big deal, it is to me because I told you I was going to do it. And I want to take this on the face and take the brunt of this. And if everyone did what they said they were going to do, we'd be fine. We'd be
100%. Absolutely.
Like, the world on Facebook, there'd be less fighting on Facebook. There's nothing fucking to argue about.
Because everybody just worry about leveling up and getting better and, following through on things that we're doing, not sitting idle and, being keyboard warriors.
Yep.
No, but I absolutely love it, man. You've been just dropping knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb. We appreciate your time coming on. And I think one thing that people are probably curious about is like on the topic of everybody needs a coach. I can't think of a better coach than Justin to come in, help you get to the next level, just like he did for so many others in his life. How is it that people can work with you, and what does it look like, high level overview to work with Justin Harkelroad on a regular basis?
Yeah. So createthestandard.com is the landing page right now to create emails for when we launch Playbook. Right now we're waiting for all the supplies to come in. So the cool thing about what I learned at Triumph is experience first. So if someone signs up for coaching, they get this whole box with t-shirt and Playbook and pens and wristbands, like all of those things that I want them to feel a part of a community. We're not ready to launch yet because all those things are being developed, but to get on the email list, just go to that website, createthestandard.com. Multiple levels are going to be inside of this thing. Limited one-on-one coaching will exist to 12 people a year, on-site visits and stuff for those type of people. But we're going to have something called the boardroom, which is going to be a one-time Zoom every month for 2 hours, where we not only attack topics, but we split out in break rooms and attack topics together. So if there's 50 people on there, we attack a topic, and I use something that I've been trained on, which is, excuse me, the learning cycle. I got it written on my board: teach, type, talk, and train. So if we teach something, we're then going to go write down our takeaways and make sure that we ingest what those information in. We're then going to go to a breakout room and talk to each other, other agents around the country, about what we just learned and how we can apply it. And then we come back and we train on it. We bring hot seats up and we discuss it as a group to make sure that shit gets handled and into the brain. I think the biggest problem that I see with Zooms right now and conferences is there's too much talking to, and the big word that you said earlier, there's no listening amongst each other. And the collaborative community that insurance is specifically is massively valuable. And I know that because I'm in the other ones. Like fitness, no one wanted to talk about success because honestly, it's probably bullshit on Instagram, so they didn't want to admit that was going on.
Yeah, they just didn't feel like they were winning, right? And their definition of it was like they're comparing themselves to the bodybuilder that's already taken ahead of them.
It's just have a conversation because there's nuggets amongst everyone. And that's what I want to create the standard. Like, I don't want to just work one-on-one with people. I want people to work with each other. Because I think that's where you're going to get the best nuggets. People go to these conferences and they go like, I get the best stuff from the pool. Yeah, cool. That's amazing. But why can't we create that experience in the room? Like where you actually can converse and do that. So that's the overall mission. If I talk about the mission for the standard, it's to create the pursuit of scaling with being content and happy at the same moment, which is the struggle for most people.
I love that. Well, there you have it, folks. If you're watching live, you're watching the rerun, make sure to give Justin some love. Let's drop it down in the chat there for him. And, I think everybody needs a coach in life. So if you're out there and you're looking to take things, to the next level in whatever area of your life, I think it's been clear and apparent. Justin's going to be one of those guys that can help you get there. And I'm a firm believer you can't do great things. You can't do extraordinary things in life alone. Everybody needs a good coach, and hit up Justin Harkelroad here today for a conversation of how he can help you take your life to the next level. But until then, this has been another episode of Ask the Expert, September 26th here. We are wrapping it up, and we will catch you next week, same channel, same time.